Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to drag and drop files. So this is my main app. It's empty right now, and I'm going to start off with the component, the main component, and I'm going to put everything into one single component because I can do that. So I'll call this FileDrop.jsx. I'm going to export the default function. For now, I'll just return a div. And I'm going to import it into our app so we can see changes in real time. There we go. And I will start with a simple input. So usually when we want to create an upload input, we just set the type to file, and we're going to see something like this. So when you click this, it's going to open up your downloads. You can select a file and it will show the file name right here, but it doesn't look great. If you want to add a custom upload section and you want to be able to drag files onto it, this is what we're going to be looking into. So the first thing we're going to do with this is we're going to hide it. We don't want to see that. This thing here, no. So we're going to set style, and I'm writing CSS inline for the purpose of this video. So we're going to say display none, and now it's not there anymore. We're going to import our hooks that we're going to be using. So I'm going to import useRef because this is what I'm going to be using to reference the hidden input. I'm going to import useState because I'll be using that later. Now I'm going to create a ref. I'll call it upload ref. Let's say upload ref equals use ref, and I'll just set to null. And now this input is going to have the ref that I just defined, so it's gonna be ref upload ref. We are going to create a custom zone first that looks nice, that we can click on to upload files. We'll start with the clicking function, and then we will move on to the dragging function. So for that, I'm gonna style this div. First, I'm gonna set the width to 100%. And then the display is gonna be flex. We'll justify the content center. And align items center. And we don't want anything coming out of that container, so we'll just set to overflow to none or hidden. And I'll give it a background of just like gray maybe. So I'll do RGB. We'll use the selector here, maybe just a little bit gray whitish. And we'll set the cursor pointer because when I hover over it with my mouse, I want to see the, well, this thing right here, the pointer. We'll give it a minimum height of, let's just say 30 view height, just to display it. And if I say we're gonna see this, let's make it a little bit bigger, maybe 50%. Yeah, so that looks good. That's fine. So now you can see when I hover over it, the cursor changes into a pointer. Now we want to add a text in here. So let's say we'll do an H2, we'll say upload, and we'll change the style to black, and there you go. Now if I click, it does nothing, but we want to make it do something. So this is the div, and I want on click to call the click property on this input here, and to do this we use the ref. The ref helps us do that. So over here I will do on click upload ref dot current dot click. Now when I click on this, it is going to call the click function on the input, and we can see it just opened the downloads, and I selected the picture, but we cannot see anything yet, but at least we got that going to start. Now, let's say we want to see the name of the file that is uploaded here. We want to know if it's been successfully uploaded and what the file we uploaded is called. So to do that, I'd like to start with a state. The state to carry the file that we upload. So we're going to call this file, and the function will be setFile. Now, if we want to see what the file we're actually uploading is and if it's been actually uploaded, we can create a change handler and have it console log the changes for us. So handle change, and this is going to take in the target event, which is going to be the input. So the input will be onChange, handle change. So it's going to take the upload ref dot current file, or technically you could have just used e.current files, but we'll just use the ref. So upload ref dot current dot files and 0, because usually the files is an array that carries a number of files, but in cases like this where we're just doing single file uploads, it's just a single file and it's going to be the first index of that array. So we're going to console log this, and if I upload, we can see the file that we just uploaded logged here. We can see the name of it, we can see the size, we can see the type, so all of this information. And now what we want to do also is that when we upload the file, we want to set it in the state. So we're going to set file, and we're going to set the same thing here. So we've got that. So when we upload the picture or whatever file we upload, now it's going to be set in this state. Now let's add another feature to see the name of the file here. So now if I add a, let's say a paragraph here, just a p element, and then we're going to check if there is a file. Now if there is a file, then we are going to display file.name, which is the property right here. And we're going to change the color to black because it's right there, but it's white right now, and we can see it. So if I refresh and I re-upload the cat pic, we can see the name of the file that is uploaded. Now onto the drag and drop. We're going to need a state called is drag over. So we're going to say is drag over, set is drag over. And we're going to say use state null or false. Now you don't really need this, but the reason I'm creating this state so we can manage the styling. So I want, for example, when I'm dragging over this div, I want the opacity to change. And to do that, there has to be some sort of pointer whether the user is currently dragging or not. So let's go ahead and give this div the event listeners that we need. So we need on drag over, and we need on drop, and we need on drag end. So when the drag ends, what we want to do is we want to set is drag over to false. And this one is going to be handle drag over, which is going to be a custom handler we're going to create. And this one's going to be handle drop. So we're going to create those functions here. Handle drag over. And handle drag or handle drop. Now both of them are going to take the event as an argument, which is going to reference the div. So when we are dragging over here, this is going to be the event. And it is very important to prevent default on the handle drag over and the handle drop. Why is that? Because by default, handle drag over is blocked by the browser as a security feature. So if you don't include the prevent default and prevent the default behavior, it's not going to show you whatever code is being executed in this function. It's just going to ignore it. It's not even going to detect you dragging over it. For the handle drop, the reason I prevented default here is because if you drag a file and you drop it in the browser, it normally opens that file in the browser, but we don't want that to happen. So let me show you real quick. If I take this cat pic and I drag it here, it's going to open it in the browser. But if I prevent default and I drag it and I drop it, it's there, but it's not opening it anymore in the browser. And that's the behavior that we want. So now when we drag over, what we want to do is we want to set the drag over to true. So set drag over, set this drag over to true. And now let's give it a little bit of a styling here. So we're going to say, if we're dragging over, we are going to set the opacity to 0.5. Otherwise, it's going to be 1. So now if I'm dragging the file, you can see that it changes the opacity, but it doesn't change back. And that's why I set the drag end here, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I think what I needed to use instead is the on drag leave. So if I do this again, hover, exit, there we go. So we got that working. So now what we want to do is when we drop, we want to set this file to the file that we are dropping. So we can access that using the e.datatransfer.files. Over here, we did upload_draft.current.files. So that's whatever file is uploaded into the input. But here it's the data transfer, which is basically whatever your quote unquote cursor is carrying. So if I do here console.log e.datatransfer.files 0. Now if I drag this, I should be able to see the file after I drop it. And that didn't work. And why is that? e.datatransfer.files, I'm missing an S. So I'll refresh, start again, drag, drop, there's my file. So it printed the file, it recognized the file, it was carried over from my file system into the browser, and there it is. So essentially, this is pretty much it. So now I can just set the file here to whatever file I dropped. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to say set file e.datatransfer.files and the first file there. So if I refresh, I drag and I drop, we can see that this has been uploaded successfully. And I dragged over it and I dropped the file, but I didn't move out after the drag. So it would be a good idea to set is drag over to false at the end. And now if I do this again, there we go. Now you've got a drag and drop component for a file. And when you are using a backend to send this file to, you just simply grab whatever is in this file state, set it in a post fetch request, and send it over to the backend. And that's it. Now, a little extra part of the video, if you wanted, for example, to display whatever is inside an image file here so you can see what you uploaded, or you want to display it like here or the entire thing, it's pretty simple. So once you drop, we can set a new state here. Let's call it URL, because we are essentially going to create a blob of this cat pic, a local URL, and then use it as a source in an image to display it. So now it's null, there's nothing in there, but when we drop it, we're going to set the URL to url.create object URL, and we are going to create an object from this same file that we are setting as a file. And now, if we create an image here, let's say maybe let's render it conditionally. So if there's a file, we're going to render an image. We'll set the source to the URL, and I'll also style it just so it doesn't take up a lot of space. So let's just say width is gonna be 50%. Now if I try uploading the picture, we're gonna see it over here. You can change it into, let's say, an absolute, so it doesn't stretch the div that you're in. We can do that by, let's say, setting here the parent to a relative position. And then we can change the position of this to absolute, width to 100%. This a little bigger, maybe even 80. There we go. What I can do is I can change the opacity here, and I can set this image's Z index to -1, and look at that. And of course, if you upload something like a PDF or an exe, it's not going to display anything because the image source is not going to read it. So then what you can do in that case is you can tap into this file object, and you can perform a split on the name and then check the extension. If the extension is anything but a JPEG or PNG or whatever, then you can just not render the image. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If it helped you out, please leave a like and a subscribe. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments.